With just 24 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. With just 24 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Singendonk has a best lap time of 2:17.282. David posted 6:09.620 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic Fovard has a best lap time of 2:18.324. With just 21 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Jimmy posted a 5:19.562 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. Linfield has a best lap time of 5:19.562. Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 8:20.932. David posted 2:21.667 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 18 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Dominic Singendonk has a best lap time of 2:16.806. Mac posted a 2:27.078 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Dominic Singendonk has a best lap time of 2:16.806. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. Dominic Singendonk posted 2:17.727 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Darwin has a best lap time of 2:20.117. David posted a 2:18.842 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Nigel Walters has a best lap time of 2:19.971. Matt McFarquhar posted 2:20.881 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Brian Patterson has a best lap time of 2:18.614. With just 11 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. Brian posted a 2:18.614 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John posted 3:56.429 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Jimmy Linfield has a best lap time of 2:18.653. David has a best lap time of 2:18.842. It's a lovely day for racing here at Brno circuit as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Marcus posted a 2:17.488 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Daniel Coxis is on their practice outlap. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. With just 4 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Jimmy Linfield has a best lap time of 2:18.653. Dom has a best lap time of 2:18.324. Marcus posted 2:19.916 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? With just 2 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Coxus is getting to grips with the Ford Capri in this practice session. Danny posted a 2:20.254 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Daniel Coxus is on their first practice flying lap. David Constable Berry has a best lap time of 2:18.277. Darwin has a best lap time of 2:20.117. With just 0 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. It's time to separate the contenders from the pretenders here at Brno circuit, as the drivers rev up their engines and put their skills to the test in the qualifying session.
The pressure is on to set the fastest lap times, and the tension in the air is palpable.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Mol is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. Dominic Fovog is on their outlap.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
It looks like Jimmy is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tyres and get everything just right. The adrenaline is pumping. Patterson is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. Patterson has completed their outlap. As Patterson completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. This is where the mental game comes into play. Nigel is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Daniel Coxis is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. That's the outlap done for Coxis. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. Nigel Walters is on their outlap. Knockoff Nigel crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. Brian Patterson is on their first flying lap. Brian Patterson has just completed a lap in 2:17.994. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. It's clear that Danny Darwin is on a mission in this qualifying session. They're pushing their car to the limit.
Yes, they are. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
You can feel the tension building. Coxis is out on track and getting ready as Daniel Coxis completes their outlap. They will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. Wow, look at Jimmy go. They're really turning on the jets in this qualifying session. Jimmy Linfield has completed their first flying lap in 2:18.104. Looks like Dominic Singendonk is channeling their inner Schumacher today. They're absolutely flying out there.
It's amazing what a little bit of adrenaline and a lot of horsepower can do, right, Hal? Singendonk is just showing us all what they're made of.
Dominic Singendonk will be happy having put themselves into first in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for them to improve further on that. Sometimes trying too hard makes you slower. They need to drive smooth and smart.
Impressive display by Dom, currently sitting in position 5. They've set a competitive time, but the question remains whether they can push even harder to secure a better starting position. Fauvargue will be happy having put themselves into fourth in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. I'm sure they can find a little extra in there.
It's an impressive showing by Patterson, currently in 7th. They've showcased their talent, but will they be able to find those crucial extra tenths of a second to climb higher? A solid performance from Constable Berry as they currently hold position 6. However, with the session coming to a close, they'll need to find that extra bit of speed if they want to move up the grid. Patterson has put in a great effort and currently holds 7th. With the session winding down, can they unleash their full potential and improve their starting position?
I completely agree, Hal. Brian Patterson has positioned themselves impressively in 7th. However, it's crucial for them to keep pushing to potentially improve their starting position.
What a performance from John. They currently occupy 2nd on the grid. Can they maintain this strong position and secure a favourable starting spot? A strong showing from Patterson as they currently sit in 7th. With the session drawing to a close, they'll need to dig deep and find that extra burst of speed to improve.
You're spot on, Hal. Patterson's current position of 7th is a testament to their skills and determination. Now they face the challenge of maintaining their position against hungry rivals.
Brian Patterson has some work to do as that 2:17.711 is only good enough for 6th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
And there goes the Kiwi, currently in position 2. They've shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still time to improve their result. John will be happy having put themselves into 1st in this qualifying session. What an impressive performance from Assetto. They are currently leading the pack in this qualification session, showing incredible pace and skill. It's a commanding position for them, and they have set the bar high for their competitors. You've joined us on a breezy day here at Brno circuit, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The drivers are looking focused out there on the grid. I'm excited for this one, Hal.
John Astrup will be feeling confident starting from pole position. The second position is occupied by Dominic Singendonk.
This A-class driver is looking strong today.
Martin Moll has qualified 3rd.
Martin will be expecting to bring home solid points.
And in 4th place, we have Dominic Fauvargue.
The British driver will be focused on a good result from here.
On the 5th grid slot, we have Marcus 'n' 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 As the engines roar to life, Brian Patterson prepares to take off from the 6th position on the starting grid.
Patterson in B class.
David Constable Berry is 7th. Jimmy Linfield will be looking to gain ground quickly as they start from 8th on the grid. Nigel Walters is going to be starting from 9th.
We've not seen the best from Nigel yet.
Sitting in 10th is Danny Darwin.
But they can't afford to be complacent. This is race day after all.
Daniel Coxis is in a solid position starting from 11th on the grid.
We've seen great results from here. What has Daniel got in store for us?
Starting from 12th on the grid is a tough ask for Mac McFarquhar, but they're up for the challenge.
But they've got the skills to make something happen.
The moment we've been waiting for has arrived. The green flag is waving and the race is on.
Maintaining a safe distance while still pushing for position is a delicate balance. Experience and composure will be vital in these opening moments.
Establishing an early advantage will be crucial to the outcome of this race.
I am so excited at the prospects for this race. I can't wait to see the drama unfold.
Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position? It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today.
I, for one, am really excited, Hal. The rivalry between Constable, Berry and Patterson has been building before the race, and this is where scores are settled.
All the drivers will be trying to take advantage of the pack whilst they're still bunched up. This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it.
Let's hope they all brought their A games today.
The stewards will be hoping that there aren't too many incidents for them to pick over when the dust settles on this one. Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here.
I'm looking forward to this one, Hal, and we'll see a return to form for Singendonk in this outing in Czech Republic.
There's not much to report on from Dominic at the moment. They're just keeping their head down and putting in consistent laps.
Consistency is key in racing. Singendonk just needs to keep doing what they're doing and wait for opportunities to present themselves.
The drivers have been working hard to come up with the perfect race strategy. They've been looking at the weather, the track conditions and the performance of their cars.
Now it's time to put that strategy into action and see if it pays off.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory? It's been a solid race so far for Singendonk. They're holding their position and keeping a steady pace. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Marcus gaining places and Daniel Coxis losing them. The pursuit is on. Coxis is closing the gap on Singendonk, determined to claim P8.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Coaches should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Marcus.
Coxis is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Singendonk at the moment.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
Great driving from Daniel Coxis, who has just gained a place and moved up to 8th. Wow, Linfield is really pushing hard to catch up to Darwin. There's blood in the water for 11th place.
It's a thrilling battle for position as these two drivers give it their all. Who will come out on top? This is racing at its finest.
Incredible. Linfield is caught in a fierce battle, with breathing down the neck 0.1 seconds away, and Darwin just ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds. It's a test of their racing skills. Oh, this is getting intense. Nigel is just a few car lengths behind Daniel Coxis.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Who will have the speed and skill to come out on top?
It's a steady race for Nigel so far. They haven't made any mistakes, and they are maintaining their focus.
Sometimes that's all it takes to secure a good result. Knock off Nigel just needs to stay focused and avoid any mistakes.
This is getting exciting. Can Nigel Walters pull off a late charge and gain a position?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Nigel to make up that gap, especially with Daniel Coxis defending so well.
Heartbreak for Daniel Coxis as they slip down the field.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Daniel Coxis needs to stay calm and focused and make their move when the time is right.
Disappointing for Coxis, they now find themselves in 12th. This is a thrilling battle as Darwin edges closer to Linfield in their fight for P10. The gap between Danny and Linfield is widening. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
This is a tough situation for Danny Darwin. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
The race is really heating up. Singendonk is hunting down Astrop with everything they've got. The gap between Dominic Singendonk and John Astrop is getting smaller. Huge shout out to the admins at RRM Motorsport Club for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is palpable. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
Dominic Fauvalg is giving it their all as they chase down David in P6. Dom is in the flow, putting in their best lap so far.
Things are hotting up now, Hal, and it'll be interesting to see if they can improve further on that time.
Singendonk is on a mission, chasing John, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. Dominic has just put in a faster lap than John, so that's going to give him something to worry about.
We will have to see if John has got any answers for that.
Looks like that's a mistake from Danny Darwin. This could be costly. Singendonk is running third. They are trying to catch John. It seems like Sing and Donk is pushing. They are on for recording their best lap so far this race. Look at that, John is hot on the tail of Mole. It's not going to plan for the Kiwi. They're still behind Mole and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. It's a brilliant day for racing, and the drivers are putting on a show.
Absolutely. What a great race we are witnessing today. These drivers are giving it their all, and it's a thrill to watch them compete at this level.
They're really pushing themselves and their machines to the limit, and it's paying off with some incredible driving.
It's a pleasure to be here today, Hal. You really can't beat the excitement of a good race, especially one as competitive as this.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Mac is chasing Constable Berry in P5. It's game on now. McFarquhar has closed the gap to David Constable Berry. It's now down to 0.3 seconds. A tough moment for Mac McFarquhar, who has just lost a place, dumping him down to 7th. It's a tight race with Dominic Fauvargue in 6th, just managing to stay ahead of Mac McFarquhar in 7 by a margin of 0.1 seconds. Tough break for Dominic Fauvargue, who has just lost a position.
That's got to be frustrating. But Fauvargue is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Dominic Singendonk trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on John Astrup. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Dominic Singendonk close in enough to mount a challenge?
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But John Astrup is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Dominic Singendonk in P3 doing everything they can to catch up.
The race is heating up as Dom in 7th closes in on Mac McFarquhar. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
That's right. Dominic in 7th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Mac McFarquhar is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
Dom needs to get more consistent. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than Lord Farquhar. Things are heating up as Jimmy Linfield tries to close the gap to Marcus Singendonk. It's looking good for Jimmy Linfield, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Marcus Singendonk. Every move counts now as Fauvargue works to reel in McFarquhar and overtake for P6.
Who will be able to maintain their pace and come out on top? The gap between Dom and Mac is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds. Looks like we've had a few incidents out there. Someone forgot to take their driving lessons. They're making more U-turns than a confused tourist.
Hilarious. I think they might need to call their GPS for directions. Maybe it can help them navigate the track. It looks like Singendonk is pushing hard to catch up to Jimmy Linfield. The gap is over a second, but Singendonk is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Jimmy Linfield? Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. The crowd is on tenterhooks as Marcus Singendonk in 9th chases after Jimmy Linfield. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Marcus Singendonk find a way to catch up?
It's moments like these that make motorsport so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Marcus Singendonk in 9th determined to catch up. But we know Jimmy Linfield isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Marcus Singendonk is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed.
With just 0.3 seconds between them, will Mac be able to keep up the pace and make a pass?
It's not looking good for Mac. They're still behind DCB and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. Singendonk is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Marcus Singendonk is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace. Singendonk has the pedal to the metal chasing John. The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Singendonk right now as they're struggling to keep up with the Kiwi. McFarquhar wants to close that gap with David. Matt McFarquhar is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Constable Berry at the moment. You know, Sky, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Hal, it comes down to mental strength and training. And drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high pressure.
Braking development, that won't be ideal for Jimmy Linfield.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 7 kph out there right now.
Constable Berry seems to be putting the pressure on Mac McFarquhar.
And they are poised to capitalize on any mistake, but who's going to make that mistake first?
It looks like we might get a battle between Constable Berry and Matt.
Exactly what Constable Berry needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Lord Farquaad.
The gap between Singendonk in 3rd and John Astrop remains over a second, but Singendonk is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 13 minutes?
It's going to be tough for Dominic Singendonk, as John Astrop seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Dominic Singendonk pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
It seems like Dominic Singendonk has got the bit between their teeth, improving on John Astrop's lap time there.
As long as Singendonk can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
Looks like Constable Berry is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control.
gap between Constable Berry and Dom is widening. It's now up to 0.8 seconds. The pursuit is on. Sing-and-Donk is closing the gap on John, determined to claim P2.
The mental game is just as important here. Dominic Sing-and-Donk must keep their cool while putting pressure on John.
It's not going to plan for Dominic Sing-and-Donk. They're still behind John Astrup and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Well, it looks like we have a bit of a traffic jam on the track.
It's like rush hour out there. I mean, I know we're in a race, but can't we all just get along?
Ha ha, I don't think that's how it works. These drivers are here to win, and they'll do whatever it takes to get ahead.
I guess you're right. But wouldn't it be great if they all just stopped for a cup of tea and a chat? We could have a lovely little race reunion.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Danny Darwin as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time. Good news for Danny Darwin, the gap to Daniel has decreased. It's now down to 0.5 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
The gap between Astrup and Dominic Sing-and-Donk is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from John to even allow Dominic to get a look in.
They certainly aren't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon, unless it's down to a mistake from Astrup.
Looking at the lap times, Sing-and-Donk is not on pace with the Kiwi. Can they turn it around?
Can Sing-and-Donk turn this around?
It's a battle of wills out there, with Darwin trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Daniel Coxis. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race?
This is where experience comes into play. Daniel Coxis has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But Danny Darwin is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the titans?
Danny could be on a charge here. Sky, they have just put in a quicker lap than Coxis.
The question is now, can Coxis respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
Things don't seem to be going Sing-and-Donk's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Dominic Sing-and-Donk is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Astrup to 0.7 seconds. The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
The tension is building as Astrup trails behind Martin Mol. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Martin Mol hold on, or will John Astrup be able to close them down? It looks like John is making a move. The gap to Mol is now down to 0.7 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Dominic Sing-and-Donk has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with John. I expect their only hope at this point is that John makes an error. The gap between Sing-and-Donk and John Astrup is getting smaller. You know, Sky, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Hal. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
John wants to get into Martin Mol's slipstream.
I might have said this before, but dog bone, you know the rest.
Astrop has just put in a faster lap than Mole, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
We will have to see if Martin Mole has got any answers for that.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Dominic, who is currently in P6, but Mac McFarquhar is not making it easy and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Dominic Fovard.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Mac McFarquhar is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Dominic Fovard in P6 doing everything they can to catch up.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. John will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. It looks like we might get a battle between John and Martin Mole. You can feel the tension in the air.
The drivers are all focused, putting everything on the line for a chance at victory, pushing them.
Wait, oh dear, Dominic has had an incident. The battle for one is heating up as the Kiwi tries to catch Martin Mole in P1. The gap between the Kiwi and Martin Mole is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds. The race is heating up as Singendonk in third closes in on John Astrop. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. It's not looking good for Dominic Singendonk. They're still behind the Kiwi and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. Astrop could be looking for a way up the inside of Martin Mole.
Rubbing is racing, let's hope they don't rub it too hard.
The best laid plans of mice and men are sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for John Astrop right now as they're struggling to keep up with Martin Mole. Constable Berry is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Singendonk at the moment. During your racing career, Sky, did you have any specific techniques to regain concentration if you felt it slipping?
Yes, Hal, I had a few techniques. One was to take a couple of deep breaths and briefly reset my focus. Another was to use a specific keyword or phrase as a mental trigger to refocus my mind on the task at hand.
This is a thrilling battle as Dominic Singendonk edges closer to John in their fight for P2. The gap between Dominic Singendonk and John is widening. It's now up to 0.7 seconds. Fantastic racing on show here today, and it's not just the top drivers who are impressing us. Even the drivers at the back of the pack are putting up a good fight, battling it out for every position.
It's a testament to the level of competition at RRM Motorsport Club. Even the smallest mistake can cost you valuable seconds or even lead to a crash. But these drivers are up to the challenge and they're giving it their all. It's clear that RRM Motorsport Club really is the place to be for top-quality racing.
The crowd is on tenterhooks as Patterson in fifth chases after Mac McFarquhar. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Brian Patterson find a way to catch up?
Absolutely, Brian Patterson in fifth will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it. as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
A solid performance from Dominic Fovard, who's holding down 6th. Oh, the frustration must be building for Fovard. They've just lost 6th position to Marcus Singendonk and they're going to have to work hard to get it back. I love being here at Brno circuit. What an awesome place to be witnessing these titans of the track battle it out.
Indeed, Hal, what a magnificent sight and sound. I love listening to the roar of these engines. Let's just listen for a moment.
The pressure is on for Patterson as they try to catch up to Mac McFarquhar. It's not going to plan for Patterson. They're still behind Mac McFarquhar and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with John Astrop trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Martin Mole. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can John Astrop close in enough to mount a challenge? The gap between John and Martin is growing. It's now up to 0.8 seconds.
The Kiwi needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
In your experience, Sky, what was the most important aspect of managing tyre degradation during a race?
The most important aspect, Hal, was maintaining a good balance between pushing hard and conserving tires. Finding the sweet spot between aggression and tire preservation was key to optimizing race pace and strategy.
Wait, I don't think that's the fastest way around Brno circuit. Hold on to your hats, folks. Patterson is right on the heels of McFarquhar, and we're in for a wild ride. It's not looking good for Brian Patterson. They're still behind McFarquhar and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. It's a close race between Linfield and David Constable-Berry in 7th. The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Jimmy right now as they're struggling to keep up with Constable-Berry.
This is a frustrating situation for Jimmy, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Constable-Berry.
We often hear drivers complaining about tyre graining. Sky, can you explain what that means and how it affects car handling?
Graining occurs when small rubber particles roll up on the tire's surface, reducing grip and negatively affecting handling. It usually happens when the tires are not in their optimal temperature window or when a driver is pushing too hard on a cold or overworked tire.
It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. Mole is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with John at the moment.
It's not ideal for Mole, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
Jimmy Linfield is running 8th. They are trying to catch David Constable-Berry. The gap between Jimmy and DCB is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds. This race is getting even more intense. The drivers are pushing each other to the limit.
It's like they're playing a game of chicken, but with cars. And the winner gets to take home the checkered flag and bragging rights.
Ha ha, that's one way to put it. These drivers have to be in top physical and mental shape to compete at this level.
It's like they're training for the Olympics. And like you said, the mental fortitude required to stay focused and alert for the entire race is wild.
I think I need a nap just watching them. Dominic Singendonk is giving it their all as they chase down John in P2.
The gap is 0.3 seconds now. Dominic is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Astrup.
It's not going to plan for Dominic. They're still behind Astrup and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
This is where the mental toughness of Singendonk comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing even when things aren't going their way.
It's looking good for Dominic, sitting in ninth.
That's right. They can't afford to make any mistakes or let up in their performance. Every point counts in this championship.
This is what race... Hold up, breaking info. Looks like that's a mistake from Mol. This could be costly.
Martin is not going to be happy about that.
The race is really heating up. The Kiwi is hunting down Singendonk with everything they've got. It looks like Singendonk has found another gear in the last sector of the race.
They'll be the ones celebrating at the finish line.
And it's a checkered flag for Singendonk, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today. What a drive from the Kiwi, securing a great second place finish.
Intense race, but John held their nerve and earned a great second place.
Impressive drive from Martin Mol to claim the final spot on the podium.
Fantastic result.
Fourth and fifth is Mac McFarquhar and Brian Patterson. Marcus Singendonk takes sixth. Seventh sees David Constable Berry. Coming in eighth, we have Jimmy Linfield. Followed by Dominic Fovag in ninth. Danny Darwin in 10th. With Daniel Coxus in 11th. There's a little bit of wind in the air today here at Brno circuit as we're getting ready to kick things off. Starting from pole position is the best possible outcome for Daniel Coxis. Coming in at second, we have Danny Darwin. Sitting in third, it's Dominic Fovard.
It's like they're on the outside looking in. Can they make their way to the front of the pack?
It's Jimmy Linfield, sitting comfortably in fourth. In the fifth position, we have David Constable Berry ready to tackle the race ahead.
Could we see a podium result from Constable Berry?
The sixth starting position belongs to Marcus Singendonk, who will be looking to make up ground early on. Starting from seventh on the grid is a good position for Brian Patterson to launch an attack. Mac McFarquhar is placed in eighth. From the middle of the pack, we have Martin Moll in ninth place on the starting grid.
They'll be looking for a clean race.
John Astrop has qualified 10th. Starting from 11th on the grid is a decent position for Dominic Singendonk, all things considered. And we're off. As the race begins, drivers must be wary of aggressive moves that can lead to trouble on the first lap.
This is where the real racecraft comes into play. The drivers will be looking for any opportunity to make a move and gain an advantage.
It's all about finding those gaps and making the most of them, especially in these early stages of the race.
And with so many talented drivers on the grid, you know we're going to see some incredible overtakes here in the first sector.
It's not just about making a move, it's about doing it cleanly and without causing any incidents. The drivers are jockeying for position. Coxis will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate their position.
The first lap can always be a bit of a bun fight as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
Was McFarquhar trying to give their rivals a head start? They're already behind from the get-go.
This isn't the first time we've seen a driver start slow and then rally back. Let's see if Matt can pull off a comeback.
Not the best of starts there for Mac, and that's going to immediately make their race more challenging.
Not the best of starts, but it happens. I expect Mac won't be there for long.
The Kiwi looks like they have got off to a flying first lap, gaining places straight out of the gate. It's like Astrop had a pair of wings tucked away, because they've soared up the leaderboard in the blink of an eye. There's not much to report on from Astrop at the moment. They're just keeping their head down and putting in consistent laps.
That's the mark of a good driver. Astrop is staying focused on their own race and not getting distracted.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this. Fantastic move from Dominic, who has just gained a position. Look at that, they're trading places in every turn, a constant game of cat and mouse. Each driver knows one mistake could cost them dearly.
I couldn't agree more, Hal. The proximity of these cars is incredible. The precision and trust these drivers have in each other is truly remarkable.
Talk about being caught in the middle. Jimmy Linfield is sandwiched between their rivals, Mac 0.1 seconds behind and Dominic Fovard 0.2 seconds ahead. The battle for position is on.
Absolutely, Hal. The pressure is mounting for Jimmy Linfield as they navigate through this challenging situation. It's crucial for them to remain focused and make calculated moves.
Braking development. That won't be ideal for Jimmy.
Brno circuit is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
Dominic is on a mission, chasing Constable Berry, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
It's a game of strategy now as Singandong hunts down David Constable Berry. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
A brilliant maneuver from Dominic Singandong, who has just moved up the field. This is proving to be an exciting race so far. We are truly privileged to witness these legends of the track battle it out for victory.
And you know what?
Hold up, breaking info. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Whoops, Dominic is going to be kicking themselves.
No room for error here. Dominic Singandong is breathing down the neck of Coxis, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move.
Can they close up enough for a pass? I don't see it personally.
Superb driving from Dominic Singandong, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Seems like Jimmy is getting in range of Patterson. The gap between Jimmy Linfield and Brian Patterson is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds. The gap between Astrop and Coxis is razor thin as they vie for second in this nail-biting contest. What a move! The Kiwi has moved up to second. The adrenaline is pumping as David Constable Berry gets within striking distance of Daniel Coxis in their race for third.
With the way DCB is stalking Daniel Kochish, you'd think they're trying to figure out what they had for breakfast this morning.
Great driving from David Constable Berry, who has just gained a place and moved up to third. It's a tense battle for position between Mac McFarquhar in 5th and Martin Moll in 6th. Mac McFarquhar is keeping... Stop the press. Oh dear, DCB has had an incident.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 13 kph out there right now.
The pressure is really on for Martin Moll in 4th as Mac McFarquhar is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count. A great moment for Moll, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
That's what we like to see. Moll is really showing their class today.
As a former racing driver, Sky, how important is the relationship between a driver and their team during a race?
It's absolutely crucial, Hal. The team provides valuable information and support, helping the driver make the right decisions on track. A strong bond between the driver and the team can be the difference between winning and losing.
Daniel Coxis wants to find a way round McFarquhar.
To achieve anything in this game, You must be prepared to dabble in the boundary of disaster.
It's not looking good for Cox's. They're still behind Mack and the gap is increasing. They are gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. We are used to seeing some hard-fought but clean racing here at RRM Motorsport Club. I'm expecting to see nothing different here today as this race unfolds. Linfield has the pedal to the metal, chasing Brian Patterson.
There is no room for error in this battle.
It seems like Jimmy Linfield has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Paterson's lap time there.
As long as Linfield can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
What do you think, Sky? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
It looks like Dom is pushing hard to catch up to Jimmy Linfield. The gap is over a second, but Dom is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Jimmy Linfield?
Indeed, the tension is palpable as Dominic tries to reel in Jimmy Linfield. But Jimmy Linfield is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can Dominic Fauvargue find some extra pace to bring the fight to Jimmy Linfield?
Good news for Fauvargue, the gap to Linfield has decreased. It's now down to 0.1 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
Things are getting spicy now, as Jimmy Linfield and Dom look to battle it out for 10th place. A setback for Jimmy Linfield, who has just been passed. He can't hold on. Linfield is losing time to Fauvargue.
This is a real test for Jimmy Linfield. They need to find some extra pace and hold off Fauvargue if they want to win this race.
It's an intense battle for position as Marcus Singendonk tries to outmaneuver Coxis. This is edge-of-your-seat racing. A brilliant maneuver from Marcus Singendonk, who has just moved up the field.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
You know, Sky, during a long race like this, how easy is it for a driver to experience a lapse in concentration?
It can be quite easy, Hal. With so many factors to consider and the intense focus required, even the most experienced drivers can have a momentary lapse. That's why mental training and staying in the zone are so important.
Oh, this is getting intense. John is just a few car lengths behind Singendonk. It seems like the Kiwi is on fire. They have just put in their best lap. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Jimmy Linfield is breathing down the neck of Dominic, not giving him any room to relax.
A misjudgment by either driver could result in a close encounter of the tire barrier kind. And that's one handshake they'll want to avoid.
Hold your breath, folks. Jimmy is sandwiched between two relentless competitors, 0.1 seconds behind and Dominic Fauvargue 0.1 seconds ahead. They're fighting tooth and nail for every position. The action is non-stop as Danny Darwin shadows Brian Patterson through every twist and turn, determined to claim 8th.
If Danny Darwin isn't careful, they might end up turning this high-speed chase into a synchronized spinning routine. And trust me, that's not a crowd pleaser.
The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Darwin right now as they're struggling to keep up with Brian Patterson. Oh, This is getting intense. Sing and Donk is just behind John.
The slightest mistake from either driver could lead to a meeting with the barriers, and nobody wants an impromptu autograph session with the wall.
Fantastic move from Dominic Singendonk, who has just gained a position.
You can't argue with results like that. Dominic Singendonk is really making their mark on this race.
Heartbreak for Singendonk as they slip down the field. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Dom as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time. It seems like Fovag is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Linfield's. This is where the race gets really interesting. Dominic Singendonk is closing in on John Astrup.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Dominic needs to stay patient and wait for the Kiwi to make a mistake.
It seems like Dominic is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Singendonk refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
The tension is building as Linfield trails behind Danny Darwin. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Danny Darwin hold on, or will Jimmy Linfield be able to close them down?
It's going to be tough for Linfield, as Danny Darwin seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Linfield pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
Disappointing for Jimmy Linfield, they now find themselves in 11th. Things are heating up as Singendonk tries to close the gap to John. Dominic Singendonk is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with John Astrup at the moment. I think we just got time for a quick shout out to our human creators, Dave, Andy, John and Nigel, who have put so much effort into making this possible.
Yes, it's been a real thrill ride, and I for one can't wait to see what is coming next.
Apparently we're going to be announcing crashes and incidents soon. Let's hope they get the logic right. This is what it's all about, folks. David Constable Berry is in hot pursuit of Cox's, who's just trying to stay ahead. Big gains for DCB as they move up the field, leaving Daniel Cox's behind.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. David needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
Things are heating up as Fovard closes in on Danny Darwin. The gap between them is down to practically nothing. Dominic is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Danny Darwin to 0.1 seconds.
That's a great effort from Dominic. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
An impressive showing from Fovard, who has gained positions and left Danny Darwin in the dust.
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
Looks like Daniel is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control.
The gap between Daniel Coxis and David is widening. It's now up to 1.2 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Daniel Coxis needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to DCB.
Look at that. Singendonk is hot on the tail of John. It's not going to plan for Dominic Singendonk. They're still behind Astrup and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the racing world. But you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
The pursuit is on. Jimmy Linfield is closing the gap on Danny Darwin, determined to claim P10. And Jimmy Linfield has just won the place from Danny Darwin.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Jimmy can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
The excitement is palpable. This is going to be a race for the ages.
The drivers are executing their strategies to perfection, making the most of every opportunity. This is what top-level racing is all about.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Dominic Singendonk, who is currently in P2. But John Astrup is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Dominic Singendonk. It looks like Singendonk is making a move. The gap to John Astrup is now down to 0.2 seconds.
Exactly what Singendonk needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Astrup.
The gap between Martin Moll in third and Dominic Singendonk remains over a second, but Martin Moll is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 11 minutes? Moll could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Singendonk. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. The gap between John and Dominic Singendonk is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
John needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Singendonk.
A tough moment for Astrup, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to third. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. Martin Moll has just put in a faster lap than Dominic Singendonk, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
The question is now, can Dominic Singendonk respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
In your experience, Sky, what was the most challenging aspect of maintaining concentration during a race?
The most challenging aspect, Hal, was managing the various inputs and distractions during the race, from radio communication with the team to monitoring car performance and race strategy. It's a delicate balancing act that requires immense mental discipline.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
When I was racing, we had a saying, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Patterson is definitely living on the edge today.
What a move. Brian Patterson has moved up to 7th. It's a brilliant day for racing here at Brno circuit. I'm really enjoying this.
This race is truly epic. What a treat to be sat here witnessing this spectacle.
It's a thrilling pursuit as John Astrup is right behind Moll, keeping the pressure on for second place.
If Astrup pushes too hard, they might find themselves exploring the scenic route, and nobody's got time for sightseeing during a race.
Astrup is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they're 0.57 seconds down. As a former driver, Sky, how did you manage the physical demands of racing?
It's all about preparation, Hal. Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
Hold on a moment. I don't think that's the fastest way around Brno circuit.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race, they've been looking at a decent result.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Daniel will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. Great driving from Coxis, who has just gained a place and moved up to 8th.
Impressive. Kočiš is really showing their skill and determination out there.
The crowd is on tenterhooks as Astrup in third chases after Martin Mol. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can John Astrup find a way to catch up?
This is where experience comes into play. Martin Mol has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But John Astrup is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the Titans?
It's not looking good for Astrup. They're still behind Martin Mol and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Patterson is chasing Daniel in P8. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Brian Patterson gaining places and Daniel Coxis losing them.
Yes, but they have to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over and anything can happen. Brian Patterson needs to stay focused and keep driving with skill and determination.
The gap between Brian Patterson and Coxis is getting smaller.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Linfield trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Brian Patterson. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Jimmy Linfield close in enough to mount a challenge? A top lap time there from Jimmy Linfield, setting their fastest lap of the session so far. During your racing career, Sky, how did you determine when it was the right time to pit for fresh tyres due to tyre degradation?
It was a combination of factors, Hal. Monitoring lap time,
Braking development. A great moment for Linfield, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. The battle for 8 is heating up as Patterson tries to catch Daniel in P8. The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Brian Patterson right now as they're struggling to keep up with Coxis. Let's talk about tyre degradation. Sky, how does it affect the car's handling and what do drivers need to do to adapt to the changing conditions?
Tire degradation can significantly impact handling, Hal. As the tires wear, the grip reduces, and drivers need to adjust their braking points, cornering speeds, and throttle application to maintain control of the car.
Every move counts now as Linfield works to reel in Brian Patterson and overtake for P9.
The gap between them is now just over 0.4 seconds. Who will come out on top?
It's game on now. Linfield has closed the gap to Brian Patterson. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
The track conditions are looking good here today. The drivers will be able to push the cars to the limit and it's going to make for some exciting racing. The intensity is off the charts as Coxis hounds Brian Patterson, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit.
Should things go south between Daniel Kočiš and Patterson, we might witness a high-speed game of bumper cars, but trust me, it's way less fun with real race cars.
Coxis is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Patterson at the moment.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
It looks like Singendonk is pushing hard to catch up to Mac McFarquhar. The gap is over a second, but Singendonk is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Mac McFarquhar?
That's right. Marcus in fifth knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Mac McFarquhar is no slouch and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
It seems like Marcus is pushing. They are on for recording their best lap so far this race.
Can Marcus keep it together?
Sky, what's the impact of tyre degradation on race strategy? How does it affect a driver's approach to the race?
Tire degradation plays a crucial role in race strategy. How? Teams and drivers have to consider the optimal time to pit for fresh tires and adjust their race pace to balance speed with tire conservation. It adds another layer of complexity to the racing challenge.
The race is heating up as Singendonk in 5th closes in on Mac McFarquhar. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
It's moments like these that make motorsport so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Marcus Singendonk in 5th determined to catch up. But we know Mac isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Marcus Singendonk is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
The gap between Coxus and Linfield is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Daniel to even allow Jimmy to get a look in.
It's not over till the checkered flag drops though, and it's important they don't lose concentration at this point.
The gap between Jimmy Linfield and Daniel Coxus is widening. It's now up to 1.0 seconds.
Linfield needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners. It's like they're on rails.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers were chugging along.
Ha ha, I bet they were, but things have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Definitely. It's amazing to think about the technology that goes into these cars now. I mean, they have more computing power than some countries.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Singendonk, who is currently in P5. But Mac McFarquhar is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Marcus Singendonk. It looks like we might get a battle between Marcus Singendonk and McFarquhar.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
How do racing drivers, like yourself back in the day, Sky, train themselves to maintain concentration for long periods of time?
Mental training is a huge part of a driver's preparation. How? Techniques like meditation, visualization, and working with sports psychologists can help drivers build their focus and mental endurance for a race.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory?
Jimmy Linfield is following Daniel Coxus so closely, they could start charging them rent for occupying the same space on the track.
This is a thrilling battle as Singendonk edges closer to Mac in their fight for P4.
Will Marcus be able to make a move and pass Lord Farquaad?
It seems like Marcus is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace. Well, it doesn't look like Danny is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Jimmy. Good news for Darwin, the gap to Jimmy Linfield has decreased. It's now down to 1.4 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
It's a battle of wills out there, with Singendonk trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Mac McFarquhar. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race?
Absolutely. Singendonk in 5th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it. as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
It's not going to plan for Singendonk. They're still behind McFarquhar and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Tactics are clearly going to play an important part in this race.
They are going to need to look after their tires, and will want to keep something in them for the crucial latter stages, as their tires wear and fuel levels deplete and the handling changes.
And don't forget the track grip increases as more rubber gets laid down.
Indeed, the conditions are constantly changing and the drivers need to adapt, otherwise it can cost crucial time and jeopardize their position.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Marcus Singendonk will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. Singendonk is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Lord Farquhar to 0.8 seconds.
That's a great effort from Singendonk. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
The drivers have been working hard to come up with the perfect race strategy. They've been looking at the weather, the track conditions and the performance of their cars.
Now it's time to put that strategy into action and see if it pays off.
The crowd is on tenterhooks as Darwin in 11th chases after Jimmy Linfield. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Danny Darwin find a way to catch up? The gap between Darwin and Linfield is growing. It's now up to 0.7 seconds. The gap between Dominic in 7th and David Constable Berry remains over a second, but Dominic is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 4 minutes?
Indeed, the tension is palpable as Dominic Fovard tries to reel in David Constable Berry. But David Constable Berry is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent
braking development. That won't be ideal for Patterson.
Brno circuit is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from Dominic Singendonk.
That was a true masterclass in driving from Dominic Singendonk. You could see them making split-second decisions with total confidence, and it really paid off. What a performance.
What a fantastic race from Mol, who brings it home in 2nd place.
Strong work securing 2nd place, well done.
That was an outstanding performance from John Astrop. They fought hard and took the final spot on the podium. Finishing 4th and 5th is Mac McFarquhar and Marcus Singendonk. David Constable Berry and Dominic Fovard claim 6th and 7th. 8th is Brian Patterson. Daniel Coxes take 9th. In 10th, it's Jimmy Linfield. 11th sees Danny Darwin. Daniel Coxes has decided to pit.